welcome back to the exercise of the week. Charlie, what have you got for us today?
Today we're going to talk about the total hip machine.
You know that makes my day.
I know you're happy about that.
Big time. We're going to one of my favorite machines, and we're obviously in the machine territory. So tell us. Do you know anything? But what you got on history on that one?
Yeah, so we've been doing the history about the exercise on this podcast. Kind of, I've gotten several comments from the listeners saying they enjoy the history. So I was like, all right, we're gonna keep it going. And actually, I looked up some history. I tried to find something, but I really couldn't find anything. So I was gonna ask you, do you have anything to add?
Boy, you set it up. If I played baseball, I think I would like them a little bit low and outside.
Okay,
and that was perfect. That was right way you set it up for me. Actually, I do know some history of it, and it comes mainly from my history of working out, exercising, and also going through my education, what have you. The first, believe it or not, and I was born in '68, so I've been and started working out. First time I ever really worked out was back in 80, 81, 82, and at that time the only machines out there were Nautilus. In fact, for the longest time, the machines were called Nautilus because they were the ones. And believe it or not, even at that time, it had a chain connection to it. But there was a multi-hip machine in a Nautilus piece of equipment. Oh, wow. And so, then they started evolving because of the multiple uses of the machine, which I know you're going to go over, and how beneficial it is. But where it really started gaining popularity was it started gaining popularity in the physical therapy, and I think actually it started there, and then people, gym owners were buying these things because they were being used in physical therapy clinics. The problem is, and the reason you don't see a whole lot of them now, is just the difficulty of using the machine. Not only do clients don't know how to use it, but there's I would argue the majority of people that call themselves personal trainers don't know how to effectively use this machine. And well, you're about to find out how incredibly great this machine. A little bit of history on this. But I'm sorry, one other thing in the history. Nautilus came out with it. Cybex, Bodymaster had a really good one. Tough Stuff made them. I mean, Universal had one. Now, some of the main manufacturers, Cybex that I know of, doesn't even produce one anymore. Really? Because gyms weren't buying them. But there's a place, I'm sure you're going to get into this, there's a place where you will see one.
Yeah,
no matter
there definitely is. And I agree with you. And from what I was able to read, I think there is a lot of, just misunderstandings about what even is this machine.
Exactly.
You see it, and I think, I agree, most people wouldn't even realize that this is a hip machine. Right. Until you actually read the diagram and kind of see like how it works and everything. And I think it is one of the most underused and underappreciated machines for several reasons, because people don't realize what it is, and also it's not your typical gym bro exercise. I mean, you're not going to go in there and say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to crush some hips today." That's not what you typically see from a guy's like a perspective. Right. I remember growing up, when I was going to the gym in high school, I wasn't on the total hip machine. Yeah, and that's just because I mean I didn't know any better, but. Now, like, I know the benefit. I know why it's such a great exercise, and we're going to dive into a little bit of that now, just kind of some benefits. So, the reason why.
I'll tell you what, before we do that, if you don't mind, and also you were saying it's not a total bro machine. First thing, most of it's lower body. Exactly. And so guys don't work legs. Yeah. And it's International Chest Day every day. Yeah. But even ladies who do like to work legs a lot don't know a whole lot about the machine. Yeah. But if you don't mind, can we show just, I know you may do some video description, but just let's run the video real quick just to show the picture video of the machine.
Yeah,
what
I'll
it looks
demo
like.
the whole.
Yeah,
whole
we're going to do some demo here, but we're going to show you video here, just to kind of show you what the machine is that we're talking about. This is what it looks like, and what have you. So
we are back with another exercise of the week. Today's exercise of the week is the total hip machine. Here we have Jonathan demonstrating hip flexion, hip extension, hip abduction, and hip adduction. To perform correctly, make sure to position the pad as seen on the video and control the movement through the full range of motion. This is a great way to target the major hip movements and increase your hip strength and range of motion. Give these a shot and let us know if you have any questions about this exercise or any others.
Sorry to interrupt. Please go ahead.
Sure. So a few benefits. So the reason why it's called the total hip machine. Right. Okay, so it trains all the major movement patterns of the hip. So you've got hip flexion. That's when you bring your knee in front of you. Right. Then you've got hip extension, which brings the leg behind you. Right. And then you've got your hip abduction, abduction, which is taking the leg away from the body, lifting it out to the side. And then you've got adduction, a deduction, which is bringing the leg back down towards your body.
Quick note on that, if you don't mind. Yeah, the four different ways that it moves. And for the abduction, adduction, that's always a tough one. Quick, easy way to remember that, ADD. Adduction, as you said, adduction. Think about adding something to your body. You're bringing the leg in. You know, that's adduction. The other one is abduction, so you're going that way. Sorry to interrupt, but you got run through them real quick again. You've got
so flexion, knee in front, extension, bring the leg behind. Adduction, bringing the leg towards your body, and abduction, bringing the leg away from your body.
Fantastic.
So those are the four different ways that the machine works.
Making a total hip.
Yeah, making the total hip. So we're training the whole hip, all four sides. And really, you know, it's great for not only improving strength, right? So you want to strengthen those different movement patterns, but also it's great for range of motion. So a lot of people talk about, oh, my hips are tight. I don't have very loose hips. And you know, stretching's great, right? It's great to stretch, but I think there's a misconception between people thinking like, oh, like I stretched and then I didn't really gain any range of motion. Like, you know, you might be loose for, you know, an hour, maybe a couple hours, but then the next day it's tight again, you know? So why is that? And I wanted to kind of touch on, so there's a difference between like your range of motion and mobility. So another way to think about it is you have a passive range of motion and then you have an active range of motion. Okay. So passive range of motion, that's where if I were to stretch you, okay, the distance that I can push you is your passive range of motion, okay? So you can get a little further when I push you, but your active range of motion is what you can do on your own. So if you were to lift your leg up, that's as far as you can get it. That's your active range of motion. But if I were to push you a little further, you might have a little bit left in the tank, but you can't get there yourself. Okay. So what's good about this machine is that weight kind of pushes you into those different ranges of motion. And as you train in those different ranges of motion that you might not be able to get on your own, you're strengthening through that range. And so over time, you're able to accrue new ranges of motion, and that's going to help, you know, with your mobility. It's going to carry over into, you know, your squats, your deadlifts, all those other exercises as well.
And we touched on that before. We talked about, you and I have actually talked about it. I've talked about it in several podcasts. The other added benefit is the fact that you're strengthening the muscle. A strong muscle is a flexible muscle. So you're helping you through that, definitely so.
And another one, you know, and I know you'll be happy to touch on this, is the importance of strengthening muscles, specifically the hips, as we age, and how the hips play a role in falls.
A massive role.
So I know you might want to talk a little bit about
that. Exactly. Not only first thing, you think about the anatomy of a fall. How does it occur? Well, it occurs because you tripped on something, you got your foot caught. That's the beginning. Something interrupted your pattern. Whether you just dragged your foot on the floor, dragging your foot on the floor, not picking your leg up, hip flexion, bringing that knee up. The other part of it is catching yourself. There's several times that you fall, but you don't record that in your mind because you didn't hit the floor. You tripped or whatever. A trip is a fall. Your ability to catch yourself. You're going sideways. Can you use that abduction? Can you use that hip, that medial glute to actually toss that leg out to the side and catch yourself? And so that's what we're doing. And then on top of that, strengthening the muscle that if you do fall, where's the impact going to go? Is it going to end up on the bone because you have nothing on the outer part, which is a muscle, to protect it? And so those are the different ways of it protecting you from a fall.
Most definitely, So I think when you think about all those different factors and how this machine can train your body not only to prevent a fall, but if a fall does happen, you have the muscle tissue to cushion the bone and those surrounding structures. I think that's why it's one of those underappreciated exercises until you know those things. Oh, wow, this is the benefit from doing this. And so
excuse me, if you don't mind, one more thing on the fall. And that is that we don't really count and keep track of falls until we pass a certain number on the calendar. When we've had injury from a fall, that's when we start paying attention to the fall. We fall all the time. There's not a single year in your life you haven't fallen. You don't pay attention to it because you've got the muscle there to protect it. Not until we allow those muscles to atrophy or to catch yourself. Not until we allow those muscles to atrophy do we really start tracking our falls, I guess you'd say. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. No, so now we're going to get into just a few tips.
Yeah,
with,
definitely.
With the exercise, if you were to try this on your own, this is what, some things that I would suggest. I think all of us here would agree.
Sure.
When it comes to working this specific machine is focusing on higher rep ranges.
Right.
This isn't the type of machine that you're going to want to do a 1 rep max on. Typically, you're not going to want to go super high heavy reps or high heavy weight, excuse me, because of the type of exercise that it is. So typically I would prescribe something in like the 15 to 25 rep range.
High reps,
working on higher reps, lower weights.
Yeah.
And I think that would give you the best bang for your buck on this type of machine.
Sure.
Another thing is not rushing the reps.
Right.
So,
yeah. Not getting the momentum involved.
Right. Because I think the momentum, if you're getting the weight to slam and to kind of bounce back up, it's taking away from your muscles actually doing the work.
Right. Draw attention to yourself another way.
Yeah. That's right. You're not trying to make the most noise in the gym.
Exactly.
I think if you were at Planet Fitness, you'd set off the lunk alarm.
Right. Probably so. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe we should get one of those.
Yeah, no kidding. Exactly.
But, so not trying to rush the movement.
Right.
Focusing on controlling it through the full range of motion. That's going to give you the best benefit.
Okay. Okay. No, that makes perfect sense. So, and also, and we'll show that video again, basically, because you're going through some of the motions here and of the different ways that you can do the machine, but just so you can see the controlled part of the motion and what have you. But all right, performance enhancement. I mean, I know a guy on my staff that's all about performance enhancement. He happens to be our exercise coordinator.
Oh, really?
So exactly. Yeah, no kidding. So by the way, he's got a baby on the way.
Oh, man.
I found out it's a girl.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you're talking about me, aren't you?
Right. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Your wife told me.
Yeah.
But all right, performance enhancement. When people look at this, they think of it. Okay, well, yeah, I understand that, but that's a rehab piece, and when I get to a certain age, I'll need it. Absolutely not. I mean, go for it, Mr. Hip Guy.
Oh, you used to let something loose right there.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's about to be an hour-long podcast. But yeah, no, when it comes to performance enhancement, I think, the hips is something that everybody talks about. Your power comes from your hips. That's what people talk about. You need strong hips, explosive hips. And first thing that I think about is acceleration.
Yeah.
When you're thinking about a prime ideal athlete, somebody who's explosive, they can accelerate quick.
Right.
And acceleration, you got to think about hip drive.
Yeah.
So driving that knee up and then being able to bring it back down hard into the ground to propel yourself forward as you're running. And so with that hip flexion, hip extension that we were talking about that the machine does, being able to load that range of motion, and then whenever you translate that to the field, you don't have any weight resisting you, but you're able to produce more force. So there's a huge carryover, and I think one benefit that the athletes have with doing that type of machine is you're not going to get that in your high school weight room. Because it's just not practical. I mean, you can't have 50 players going on that machine.
Exactly.
They're not. It's not going to be in a high school weight room. But if you were to come to a place like Personal Edge, where what we do is we supplement different exercises to benefit the athlete, because they're already doing their your bench press, your squat, your deadlift in high school. But all right, what are you not doing in high school that you can get some benefit from?
What's the secret weapon?
Exactly.
I mean, that is your secret sauce. That's your secret weapon, is developing those hips through such a machine as the multi-hip.
So throwing that in there, throwing a multi-hip exercise, something that they're not going to get at their high school, that's going to help kind of give them that edge.
Exactly. Yeah, very much so.
Personal edge.
Yeah, exactly.
Give them that edge over their competition, over the guys that are trying to compete and earn a spot against.
Yeah, awesome. Perfect, man. So, well, and I make sure we didn't miss anything else for us to sum up here.
One other thing, so I was going to give just like a sample glute workout.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
This, if you're like, I'm going to come in and hit some glutes one day. This is just a little, simple workout that I would recommend. So start out coming in, some weighted glute bridges. That's a great way to start, and then pairing that with some walking lunges. So that's a good superset you could start with.
Really firing the glute.
Really firing the
maximus of the glute max. Yeah.
Most definitely. And then moving on, once you do those for 2 or 3 sets, then moving on to the total hip machine.
Yeah.
So kind of use that as your finisher, working through those higher rep ranges.
And that's going to get everything that you missed on it. Definitely.
Yeah. So working the 4 different ranges or 4 different movement patterns, and then pairing that with some kettlebell swings. So you're getting a little explosive there. You can even kind of ramp it up with some cardio doing the kettlebell swings. So weighted glute bridges, walking lunges, the 4-way hip, kettlebell swings. That's going to hit all the
they can't miss
whole
anything
glue
on
right
that one.
there. And
yeah.
so, if you're listening to this podcast, I recommend giving that a shot this week and let us know, give us some feedback on what you think.
Absolutely, yeah. And if you got any questions about this exercise or any others, please feel free to reach out to us. Contact Charlie at charlie@personaledgefitness.com. Be glad to answer your questions there. Give us a call up here. You can set up a consult and sit down and talk about doing a little bit more with it at 251-341-0927. Charlie, thank you so much. You brought one of my favorites here, but I think you can easily see. Misunderstood machine, but how much this thing does. And actually, like you say, not only for fall prevention, rehab, whatever, but for athletes, it's your secret weapon.
Yep.
Fantastic. Hey, thanks for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.